So, welcome to this roundtable, which is the third in our series of Lent roundtables following the reflection, which will have gone out on Monday of this week. So, welcome to everybody. Let's introduce ourselves. So, I'm Nicholas. I did the reflection earlier, and it's on the theme of Jesus in the transformation business. Andrea.
Hello, my name is Andrea.
I'm Hayley.
And I'm Mark.
Good. So thanks for being with us. As I say, we're talking about Jesus in the transformation business. We had a bit of a chat earlier about what we might say. And we ranged far and wide over all kinds of transformations. So Hales, I wonder if we could just start with you as to what you said at the beginning when we were chatting before.
Yeah, so I was more sort of thinking around the nature side of things of transformation today. That's just what sort of popped up in my head earlier as I was standing outside in the sunshine and was looking at the blossom trees in our road. There's like 4 of them in a circle, and over the last 2 weeks I've just watched them grow from like twigs to now being full bloom of cherry blossom, and just the wonders of like how beautiful the world and that that our God, our creator, is like transforming something to be so beautiful.
So a miracle that comes around each year.
That doesn't last very long, but
there it is.
Admire it while it does.
Yes, indeed. And of course we talked in the reflection about transforming water into wine. So it's the thing that God does, isn't it? Transformations in nature.
Yeah.
And so Mark, I think you were talking about perhaps the transformation in yourself. You had a bit to say about that.
I'd probably say I'm more of I'm in the process of transforming within the Jesus is certainly working his ways with me, and I'm investigating the religious side very, very, very much more now. There's a few events that have happened that's brought me even closer and made me more aware of what he's actually doing, and I'm now it's got me actually saying prayers and things each night, and it's helping me deal with the situations that arose, which were bad, but I'm able to deal with them in a confident way, and that's something I haven't been able to do before. So I'm seeing the transformation for me.
Thank you. Yes, interesting. We'd look forward some other time. I think we haven't got enough time now, but some other time it'd be really interesting to hear about all the different changes in your life.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you. And Andrea, I think you had some things to say about talking about what Jesus was doing.
Well, actually, leading on really from what Mark has just said, I think of the process of transformation. Actually, and as with Hayley, you think about a tree that appears completely and utterly dead, and then suddenly it bursts into life, and it transforms throughout the year, and then it goes through a sort of amazing cycle. But I think what I felt when I read the chapter was that what God seemed to be, or how God seemed to be working in some of the situations explained in the book, were sort of situations in the ordinary, so that situations that were talked about were not necessarily high-flying big evangelistic events where thousands of people were doing amazing things. It was more a comment or a conversation discussing something fairly ordinary and not necessarily super holy or anything like that. And yet God was working within those situations and helping and speaking through them, and like the lady at the well, you know, that the parable of the woman at the well, you know, Jesus didn't really say very much except, please, can I have a drink of water? And then the conversation sort of blossomed through that. So I think as Mark was saying as well, it's a process, and we're all going through that process, but it's important to talk about the moments where God has really been evident to us, and make it a normal thing, nothing too, I suppose, inaccessible.
Okay, right. Yes, thank you. Yes. And Hales, was there anything that particularly struck you about any of those ordinary incidents that were in the chapter or in the reflection or anything we've been talking about?
Yeah, so when I read the chapter, it really hit home on how Jesus has transformed my life, and how the transformation isn't just a quick thing. It's, you know, it's a continuous transformation. I'm nowhere near where I want to be with my relationship with Jesus, but I know I will get there, and you know, and I know I will fall off the path, and I know that he will bring me back again. So it's that constant transformation. But I think for me, was what I read was when I really felt Jesus touch me, it was like a whole weight had like just lifted off my shoulders, and that was an instant transformation. So the love that, you know, I felt in that split second, and I still do. So even through all my doubts and, you know, my down days I have, I know that I always have the love there. And it's through that, you know, that transformation of Jesus in my life that has given me that.
Wonderful, thank you. Anybody else on that one? There were various instances that people have talked about of transformation in the chapter.
I think if it was the Lana story in the chapter that we read, it was, that one was the one that struck me the most, because I could see myself in that kind of situation because of my history. So it really rang a bell with my experiences, and it was very comforting to know that someone else has gone through something else, and God's been there and helped. I think it's opened my eyes to there are other people in a similar situation that I used to be in, and I've got out, on the whole, got out of the drug situation, and I'm a lot better for it.
Thank you. Yes, and for those listening, Lana was the student who led a sort of partying, drug-filled life, and then had some kind of encounter with God on the beach. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where she, if I remember rightly, she did something for a homeless tramp.
Yeah, she heard the voice, turned around, and there was him there, and then she quickly went home, made him a cup of tea, and it developed from there.
I think that's sort of, if you like, an important thing, that she went home and made a cup of tea. That is a very simple and straightforward thing, and yet what happened was, you know, if you like, heaven touching earth at that moment in time, and yet it was something of a very ordinary act. And I think that's something that really came out, and in the reflection that you did there, Nicholas, as well, that was the straightforward story, if you like. Well, not that straightforward, because not many of us end up at 3:30 in the morning in a bar at some dark end of wherever. But you know, what he did there was actually, again, to prepare a party for a prostitute who would never, or hadn't really received such love in a simple way, and yet God took it and used it in a way that affected everybody who was involved.
Yes, and we talked about who was touched, who might have been transformed at that point, didn't we? And Mark, I think you said particularly you thought.
I felt what struck me with that story, it was all aimed towards the prostitute, and the story was all aimed towards the prostitute whose birthday it was, and the person doing the party. But it was the last comment that the barman made. The last comment that the barman made, that he would join a church that dealt in that, etc. To me, that even though he wasn't the pinnacle of the story, it shows he was being talked to by God, and that resonated with me a fair bit more than it was about everyone in the story, but that particular bit certainly hit home with me. Yeah, that even though he wasn't involved so much with the main part of the story, he was affected by it and wanted to know more.
And we thought that such a person might be interested in something like Open Door, didn't we?
Yeah, it's that sort of thing. It's with Open Door, we're not overtly religious, or we don't do everything overtly religious wise, but we because it's not the right setting. You've got to keep it correct, because there's some people that would be put off by religion within the group. So there's others that are religious. So it's done on a subtle basis, but to include everyone, and that's the way religion should be, is to include everyone.
Thank you. I see that we're slightly over time. Amazing, isn't it, how fast it goes? I'd love to pursue these some more, but just perhaps to finish with, Hales, I think you picked up the point about us not being perfect to start with, didn't you?
Yeah, well, who is perfect apart from Jesus? Who, we're human at the end of the day, and nobody is perfect. But I think as long as we know where we've gone wrong, and with the love of God and Jesus in our life, we know how to say sorry, how to ask for forgiveness, to then learn from our mistakes, than just to keep repeating.
So transformation's a daily process or hourly process.
Yeah.
Oh, I would think so.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So yes, picking up on the story of the man who said he attained sinless perfection, but was very quickly proved wrong when Spurgeon poured a glass of milk over his head. I guess that we would all be in that position, wouldn't we? None of us would have a perfect reaction.
No.
Well, if we were all perfect, why would we need forgiveness?
Yeah. Why would we need transformation? Yeah. Any last comments? Anything else that anyone wants to say just as we finish?
The only thing I think I would say is that not to be shy about expressing ourselves. I think that was the thing that came out of it, wasn't it? Was that we do need just to, we don't have to be all super holy and quote large chunks of the Bible at people, but we could just sort of try and make our conversation ordinary, like, oh well, yes, but I had a really bad day yesterday, but I prayed about it, and God came and answered the prayer, or spoke to me, or showed me something, without it sounding peculiar. And I think we're a little bit shy of doing that sometimes, so perhaps a bit more, we could be a bit bolder in that department. I talk to myself here because I don't normally do that very much either, so
no, nor I. So just a simple ordinary telling people about our own stories, whatever they are. Yeah,
I think that's more essential in a modern day climate as well, with the way everything is at the moment. It's being more confident to be ourselves.
Yes, to be honest,
Jesus is part of us, so
yes. Great. Well, thank you all ever so much for being with us, and I'll actually look forward to talking more with each of you at some other point, particularly when we can come out of lockdown and see each other face to face. So thank you.
Thank you.